Alright guys, how's it going? I'm the Crown Clown and today I'm coming at you with another video. Today this is What If Deku was Isekaed to Fairy Tale Part 2. Before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys right now. We're going to be covering 3 arcs. We will be covering the Arashion's Sace arc, the Edalus arc, the Tenro Island arc. However, the Tenro Island arc is going to be extremely different because Deku will not be on the island and neither will Mira, and neither will Wendy for that matter, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. And the Arashion's Sace arc is going to be extremely different as well because, well, you'll see in a second, but yeah. And anyways, Edalus will be extremely different. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy, and as always, if you guys are, I would hope you guys would leave a like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell to get all notifications, and if you don't, well then there's really just YouTube messing up, but hey, it raises your chances if you do click that notification bell. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's begin with What If Deku is Isekaed to Fairy Tale Part 2, and let's get off with a little recap. Where last left off, Deku pretty much made sure that Gajeel joined up, and Juvia joined up a lot earlier, so she was actually able to help out at the Tower of Heaven, meaning that, there was less casualties. Simon is still alive, thanks to Deku getting in his way and tanking the attack from Zeref. And Natsu entered his ethereal infused dragon force mode, and Deku helped him beat Zeref, meaning Urza never got captured. And Zeref, he still did his little sacrifice thing and blew up the whole ethereal Tower of Heaven, but he did survive and was captured by the Magic Council in the coming days. As for that, the Battle of Fairy Tale, Evergreen betrayed Loxus and joined up thanks to Elfman's Talk no Jutsu. Because Elfman's a lot more confident in this and has his full body takeovers, he's not really that much of a wimp. He was able to take out Freed, and Evergreen undid her petrification, went out there as all of Fairy Tale and took out the Lacrimas while Deku took out Loxus, beating him brutally and leaving him crucified in a demolished church. And with that, Loxus was expelled from the guild. And during the parade of Fairy Tale, everybody did that finger thing, including Deku. And Loxus was content and he left. Realizing the gravity of his mistake, he decided to go and atone. So, with the recap out of the way, let's go and jump right into part 2, you guys, with the Arashion's Sace. So, where we start off our little story today is Makarov coming in and declaring that everyone needs to stop what they're doing. He has a very important announcement to make, and for Deku, he has a very important decision to make. As Deku would say, "What's wrong, Master?" As Makarov would say, the Magic Council has decided to do a joint coalition of guilds to stop the spreading of dark guilds. One in particular, the Arashion's Sace, as they should be captured and basically gotten rid of. As Deku says, okay, what does this have to do with my decision? As Makarov says, you are to pick a task force, but you may not pick Mira as she's needed here for her test to be the new guild master. As Mira says, but can't that wait? Isn't this more important? As Makarov says, no, I need to retire. And as such, it's up to you to come here and take this test. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. As Mira says, very well, Master. As Deku looks over everybody, he says, Elfman, you're coming with me. As Elfman says, really? And Deku says, yeah, I know I can count on you. He looks at Urza and says, I'm definitely going to need your strength for this one. As Urza says, alright. And he says, Gray, Natsu, you're with me. And he says, that's my team. As they're just like, okay. So Makarov assigns them the mission, and they're off. As they get down and they get to the meeting point, they realize they're the first ones there. As Deku scouts the area out, looking for any type of resources that could be useful. As he feels people coming in, he sets up a welcome. Not knowing if they would be friend or foe, he waits. As they walk in, he sees Jura, someone he's met before. So he steps out and says, well, hello, Jura. As Jura says, oh, I didn't think they'd be sending you. After all, aren't you going to become the next master of fairy tale? Deku tells him, no, I'm not. In fact, that's Mira. As Jura would say, and how is Mira? Is she alright? As Deku says, yes, she is about to be taking her exam to become the next guildmaster. As Jura would say, that's great. And Deku would look back and see, basically, Leon. She would say, oh, you have your own ice mage. As Gray would say, Leon, what are you doing with Lamia scales? As Jalal would explain his whole situation with them, as he would say, I've come to apologize for how I acted. And basically, Deku would say it's okay. You were in a bad spot and now you're in the light. That's all that matters. As, you know, Leon would say, thank you. As Corey would say, isn't he a good guy? Leon would say, yes, he really is. As Deku would say, alright, what's up next, Jura? As Jura would say, well, we're waiting for Blue Pegasus and Kate Shelter. And I'm going to say Blue Pegasus gets there last this time, and Wendy actually gets there earlier. As Kate Shelter's person enters, she says, I'm sorry I'm late. As Deku says, no, you're not late. And she says, oh, hello, I'm with the Kate Shelter Guild. As Deku says, but you're a child. As Wendy says, yes, but I'm strong. As Deku says, I believe you. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. As Wendy says, thank you. Deku would say, sure, you can count on me anytime. As Wendy, smiles at him, he thinks of her as someone that is precious, because he sees her as someone similar to his own self back in the past. And basically, he would say, I won't let any danger come to you. Understand? As Wendy says, yeah, thank you. And Carla says, and how can you be sure that you are telling the truth? As that's when Jura steps in and says, this man is one of the 10 wizard saints. His strength is second to none here. As Carla says, so you're the strongest. As Deku says, strongest one in this coalition by far. As Carla says, and you're responsible. Very well, I'll choose to believe you. As the Blue Pegasus Guild gets there, and when they start to do their flirty thing with all the girls there, mainly Urza and Wendy, and Sherry, so they start doing their thing. Deku and Jura snap them out of it and say, you guys need to listen up. As they try to get an attitude with Deku, Ichigo realizes who Deku is, and he stops and he says, men, on your knees. We must beg for forgiveness for wasting this man's precious time. And they're like, what? And Deku says, you're going overboard, little man. Anyway, listen up. We ain't got much time left. Thanks to you Blue Pegasus people for dragging your ass. As they're like, how dare you? as Deku pulls out a shovel and says, "If you're gonna keep talking back, I'll use the shovel." And all of the fairy tale members kind of just back up. And Jura, he's heard about Deku's exploits with the shovel. And he tells Leone and Cherry to, kind of back up. As they're like, yeah. Blue Pegasus and Wendy's the only one that don't know about the shovel. And each is asking, what's with the shovel? As Urza says, he'll beat you to death and then bury you on the spot with the shovel. When the shovel comes out, you run. As Ichia turns blue in the face, and so does the rest of the Blue Pegasus people, and they say, "We request you take our humblest apologies." As Deku just says, "You gonna listen?" And they say, "Yes, sir." As he says, the Irration 6 consists of 6 members. Angel, then you have Hot Eye. You have Racer, Cobra, Midnight, and their leader, Brain. From what we can tell, these are 6 powerful people. We need to be cautious. We might have the numbers advantage, but we don't know how strong they are or what their magic is. We only know their names. So with that information in mind, be on your guard. And if you see 6 people traveling together, form a circle and take them out, strategically but carefully. As they realize what Deku's saying is the best possible scenario. And they ask him, what about the worst case scenario? Deku tells them, in the worst case scenario, you shut up and you fight to the last breath. As everyone says, yes sir, as they head on out. And Leone actually talks to Gray and says, is he always this intense? As Gray says no, he's usually rather chill, but those Blue Pegasus idiots really got him up in a bad mood. As Leone says, yeah, that seems like it. As they continue walking, Gray and Leone catch up, and they're actually getting a lot closer together and bonding, as they should be. And Sherry basically tries to talk to Urza and Wendy. Urza is more than happy to talk to her though, and so is Wendy, so they're actually getting along. And basically, Deku's talking to Jura, and Ichia tries to butt in, but Jura just tells him, you're not in the best standing with Izuku, so you should probably just stay back. As the Blue Pegasus people feel kind of, out of the loop. But they don't get to walk for too long before they run in to the Irration 6. To be more stateful and truthful, to be told, they're jumped. As Brain, he recognizes Wendy and takes her. As Deku sees that, he's pissed and he rushes over there. But Cobra shoots his poison out and Deku barely avoids it without getting hit. As Cobra says, wow, you got some good reflexes. As Deku just says, Natsu, take Happy and go after Wendy. As Natsu agrees to do so because he's not one to argue with Deku. And before Cobra can intercept him or Racer, Deku hits Racer right there in the stomach, sending him flying into a tree, as the tree cracks in half. Cobra, realizing this, says he can't get hit by this man. As Elfman's there, he says that he'll take on this Hot Eye guy, and Jura says he'll back him up. As the fight with Hot Eye begins, but Hot Eye separates them from the rest of the group. As Cobra's not too concerned about it, he kind of antagonizes Deku to the point where Deku's chasing down Cobra, while Cobra is flying on Cabellios. So Urza doesn't get poisoned. Not in this one. But instead, she has to fight alongside of, well, some of the Blue Pegasus idiots, Midnight. And that's a hard fight for Urza to win right now, considering Jalal was teamed up with her when she originally beat Midnight, so yeah, not the greatest. But Gray and Leone choose to tag team Racer, but once again they're separated from the pack. But they actually managed to take out Racer a lot earlier because of Gray's enhanced strength, stamina, speed, and durability from training with Deku. Deku's still running after Cobra, as he's trying to hit him, but he doesn't want to risk a planetary devastation on a moving target. So, he tries to hit him with sand, but he realizes Cobra's just dodging everything. He can't figure out why, but he still follows him. As for Angel, she's taken on and combated by, well, you could guess it, some of the Blue Pegasus goons and Sherry. So, yeah, Sherry's not gonna be able to beat Angel right now. I'm sorry, that's just not happening. And yeah, Sherry gets beaten. Urza gets beaten by Midnight. Blue Exorcist gets their asses whooped. Well, not Blue Exorcist, Blue Pegasus gets their asses whooped. And they're off. Hot Eye is actually Talk No Jutsu down after fighting Jura and Elfman. Well, after they beat his ass, of course. Because, I mean, it's Jura and Elfman. Hot Eye doesn't stand a chance. But he is Talk No Jutsu'd. And he joins up with them. So with that, they start to head off to find Wendy. Because, to be honest, Elfman realizes what Deku's promise was to Wendy, and he doesn't want to make Deku a liar. So he heads with Elfman and Hot Eye all the way over there, as Hot Eye tells them that his name's actually Richard. And Elfman says, "That's a manly name, then, Richard." As, you know, Jura says, "Yes, Richard, it's a great name." And basically, I must say that Arashion Seise's previous offenses aren't that serious. I must say they were just tax collecting and battling other guilds. So, unless they do something super serious before converting over, then Richard really won't see no jail time. So, yeah. However, when Natsu catches up, he sees Jalal, as well as Wendy, as Brain tells him that, well, this is Jalal. He actually had to kidnap him from the Magic Council after they imprisoned him. Wasn't easy, but of course, he always gets what he wants. And Natsu asks, "And how many of your Arashion Seis buddies did you have help you with this?" Brain tells him, "I did it by myself. After all, the others didn't really see Jalal as being a potential use. So, I decided to do it myself." And basically, Natsu's just like, "That's a bit scary." So, he tries his fight with Brain, and Brain actually kicks his ass. So Natsu's pretty much down, and Wendy's healing Jalal because she owes Jalal, and even though Natsu is fighting for Wendy, Wendy would still heal Jalal because it's hardwired into her that she owes Jalal everything. For after her dragon disappeared, Jalal was the only one that actually take care of her and delivered her to Kate Shelter. Well, who she thinks is Jalal. So, With that, Natsu's down for the count. As Happy flies off with Natsu in tow, meaning Natsu gets to escape and recover. As they're flying back, Elfman actually sees Happy, and Happy goes down there, dropping Natsu on the ground. And he says, "Listen, whatever you do, you cannot let all of us be defeated before you take out Brain. There's a secret about him that we have locked away." As basically, Elfman would say, "What secret is that?" As Richard would say, "There's another personality inside of him, something more evil, sinister, and powerful." As Jiro would say, "Tell us, what is it?" Richard would say, "It's called Zero, and it's basically him unleashed from everything. Like, no morals, no cares, just he is all out evil. And we keep him locked with body link magic. But if we're defeated, the body link magic is resolved. So, my shackle to him, it's already gone, since you guys did knock me unconscious." And they realize, if that's the case, they need to stop this fighting. But Gray and Leone, they're still fighting with Racer, and they knock him out, unknowing. As Deku finally catches up to Cobra and tells him, "Look, you're gonna need to stop this now." As Deku says he's had enough, and he uses a spell. "Godslayer, Secret Art, Earth Creation Golem." And he creates an army of golems. And since the golems are just set to attack, they don't have any thoughts. Cobra can't read them. And since Deku realizes that against a normal person, his combat skills are deadly, but against someone who has no train of thought and who's just programmed to do one thing, he's kind of getting overrun. As Deku would ask him, "Why are you so good against human opponents, but not against people that have no train of thought and no will of their own?" Basically, inanimate objects. As Cobra can say that he can hear his thoughts. It's just something he's able to do. And Deku says, Fairy Tail could use someone like you. Your crimes aren't that serious yet. You can still turn over a new leaf. Why don't you come with us?" As Cobra is knocked off of Cabellios, and Cabellios charges at Deku. As Deku grabs Cabellios, he notices there's a curse put on this snake. And he undoes the curse immediately. And right in front of Cobra's eyes, he says, "What are you doing to Cabellios?" As Deku says, "I'm undoing the curse that was put on Cabellios, as you call it." As Cabellios changes back into a young woman. As Cobra's eyes widen and the tears fill up, he says, "Kiana." As Cobra looks at Deku and says, "How did you do that?" He tells him his master Makarov taught him all about how to undo curses. So, with Kiana restored, Cobra would actually have no reason to keep being with Ration Seis. Feeling indebted to Deku, he would quit right then and there. It would help them. With Cobra's help, they would return back, and Cobra would fight Midnight with Deku. And that would actually be a pretty easy win for the two of them. Midnight would fall and would be knocked unconscious, as he would be restrained by the Earth Headhunter Godslayer technique, as it would basically have hands of the Earth grab him and pull him under and restrain him until Deku undid the spell. As for Angel, as Urza would be getting up and ready for a fight again, she would easily defeat Angel. Meaning, the only ones left would actually just be Brain. And since Elfman would be there, along with Jura, and the fighting would cause a commotion, basically all of the other guilds would rush to that location. Seeing Cobra with them and Richard, he would say, "Traitors, the both of you. You need to be killed," as he would charge at them. But with Deku and Jura there, they would Earth tag team him along with Hot Eye, aka Richard, as they would hit him with the most powerful Earth combination spell, and then he would be frozen over again by Gray and Leon's Ice Make magic. And he would be captured. As for Jalal, he would never regain consciousness enough to fight or try to destroy Nirvana. So that means Nirvana would not be destroyed, because it would never be resurrected. However, Cobra would know about Nirvana, and would actually tell them the whole reason why they were trying to resurrect it. So with that, they would actually try to hunt down Nirvana, which means they would actually have to wait for Brain to wake up. With the Magic Council there, they would get the answers they needed, find Nirvana, and destroy it. And with that out of the way, that's one magical crisis done for. Cobra and Richard would be given a full pardon in exchange for their help dealing with the Irrational Seis and stopping Nirvana's activation. And Richard would basically be given an option. He would be offered the choice to join Lamia Scale. And Richard would say that he needs to find his brother. However, Urza would actually tell him all about his brother. So with that, Richard would join Lamia Scale, adding another powerful Earth Mage to the ranks. As for this, Wendy would go back to Kate's shelter and realize that they're all disappearing before her eyes. Cobra, he would be joined up with Fairy Tail by now, because he feels indebted to Deku and actually has a bit of fun working with Deku. But with Wendy's sorrow, Urza would comfort her, and so would Deku. Cobra, seeing how much this meant to Wendy, would actually feel bad that he ever tried to take something away from such a small girl. And he would vow that he would never fall into darkness again. And Wendy would actually join Fairy Tail a lot smoother, because with Urza and Deku being there, and that would actually coax her to join Fairy Tail a lot smoother than just Urza. So Natsu actually being pretty infuriated that he didn't get to do a whole lot would basically just be pretty mad. However, Deku would tell him he's gotten a lot stronger. As Natsu would say, "Yeah, right, I couldn't even defeat one guy." As Deku would say, "Trust me, you're stronger." As Cobra would say, "If you're looking to get stronger, I'll spar with you from time to time, and I'll teach you." As Deku would say, "What? You're willing to fight me?" Well, not Deku, Natsu would actually say that, not Deku. But Deku would say, "Thank you, Cobra." As Cobra tells him, "It's Eric. Eric's the name." And they would say, "Well, let's go home." As Eric and Wendy, along with Kiana, because Eric would be carrying Kiana on his back, not wanting to let her go or lose her. As Kiana would wrap her arms around him, as she would want to know everything that happened while she was a snake. So her and Eric would have a long conversation on the way back. She would judge him for being with the wrong crowd, but would hug him for reforming and say that she's so proud of him, but never do anything like that again. As, Cobra would say, of course. As the two would enter a very quick relationship. Because spending all that time with Eric and knowing him, it really got to Kiana. As basically, Wendy would just kind of have her mind blown. And with that, we lead into the Edalus arc after they get back. And basically, Mira would say that she passed her master's exam, but she won't be taking over the reins quite yet, since Makarov's determined to see through the final end of the S-Class exams, so it'll be a little bit before she takes over. And Deku says, great, so we got time to do one last job together? And she says, yeah. Cobra would actually see Gajiel, and the two would actually hit it off. Seeing as how they both fought against Deku, they both have a lot to relate about. And the two would actually take up to spar along with Natsu. The three dragons would actually spar with each other a lot. And with Mira seeing Wendy, she would remind Mira a lot of Lizana. And Mira would be super protective over Wendy, as she would hug her and say, how'd you like to train with me? As Wendy would say, really? You would train me? Mira would say, yes, I'll make you strong. And Deku says, I'll join in on that. As she would say, great. So, with this, Natsu, Gajiel, and Cobra would actually form a team and start doing jobs as the Dragon Slayer trio of Fairy Tail. And Wendy would actually be doing their final job with Mira and Deku. Lucy and Gray would form a team, but they wouldn't be on a job because Juvia would be, kind of just ambushing on their team. But Gray would reveal to Lucy that he's actually been going around on jobs that offer these keys and gathering them up for her. As he would hand them over, and Lucy would say, thank you. As Gray would say, don't worry about it. And she would say her training is going very smoothly and she'll be able to go out on actual missions very soon. As Gray says, that's awesome. And basically, Wendy would be going to the, Fairy Tail members, keeping, the inning, lodge, whatever you want to call it, when she runs into Mystigan, as Mystigan would actually reveal his identity to be Jalal to Wendy. It would come as a shock to her system, but he would reveal that he remembers everything that happened with Wendy. And Wendy would realize that Mystigan was the guy that actually took care of her. As she would actually hug him, they look back as Mira and Deku were heading back from a job, and they would see Fairy Tail go up in a trail of light. And the portal would be opening as they're just like, no. Not to be outdone though, they would immediately go into the portal and follow their guild hall, along with seeing Cobra and Natsu and Gajiel. As the Edalus team that aren't in the Lacrima in this is all of the Dragon Slayers plus Mira and Deku. So they would actually all end up being separated except for Wendy. She would still be there with Mira and Deku, since Mira and Deku were flying together in Mira's Satan Soul, as Wendy would be carried by Carla and Cobra would actually be carried by both Gajiel and Deku. But, Happy would be extremely overloaded. So yeah, that would still actually happen because remember, the wave there was actually pulling everything forward. so they could actually be able to go up higher. However, Natsu would be separated from Cobra and Gajio. So, yeah, he would be the one roaming the capital like an idiot. Not actually Lucy. So, yeah. But, hey, when Deku and Mira come across the Edalus version of Fairy Tail, they would be concerned but would still enter. And Deku would actually be looking around for an Edalus version of himself, but he wouldn't find one. And he would say that, since he's not originally from this world, there would be no Edalus version of him. And Mira says that actually makes a lot of sense, as Deku would see another Mira, and he would actually be like looking around and notice his Mira's not there. So he thinks his Mira just went behind the counter, but that wouldn't actually be the case. As for Wendy's looking around and she sees her Edalus version, who's grown, and she looks at her chest and says, "Why is life so unfair?" And Deku would say, "Hey, Mira," as Mira would say, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And Deku would say, "You're not my Mira." Okay, where did she go? As Mira's like, "What do you mean? Not your Mira?" As Deku would look at her and say, "No offense, but you're not aggressive enough to be my Mira." As that's when Deku's Mira would say, "You're damn right." And look right at her and say, "I know you're me, but you stay away from him. He's mine, not yours. Got it?" Mira would be so confused. Edalus Mira. As that's when they meet Edalus Lucy. And Edalus Lucy and Deku's Mira would actually butt heads a lot. As Deku would explain, they're from an alternate dimension that just so happened to come through with that bright light. And that would explain a lot, but when Edalus Lucy starts to question and kind of flirt with Deku a little bit, yeah. And that's when Deku's Mira gives her the almighty bitch slap. As Lucy would feel blood dripping down her face, Mira would grab her by her shirt and said, "Listen here, thought. Go near my man again, or try to flirt with him again, and I'm going to be using a shovel to bury your corpse." And she throws her to the ground. Lucy, being thoroughly had the fear of Mira Jane put into her, she would say, you got it." And that's when Deku would see someone run out. She'd have short white hair and would look a lot like Lizana. He would walk out the door and say, "Oh, hi there, Lizana." And Lizana would say, "Hi, Izuku." And he would say, "Wait a minute, Lizana?" And Lizana would realize what she just said and say, "I'm sorry, but I was assuming you were the Edalus," and Deku would say, "Don't you try that. There is no Edalus version of me because I'm not originally from the other dimension or from Edalus. So there's no version of me here for you to know." She says, "How did you guys get here?" Deku explains, and that's when Mira comes out and sees Lizana, and Deku says, "It's your sister. Your biological sister. Not Edalus's version, our Lizana." And Mira would have tears running down her eyes as she would hug her sister and says, "Why didn't you say anything?" And with Lizana seeing Mira so sad and happy at the same time, she would break down and saying, "I don't know. I just couldn't stand." And that's when Deku hears something familiar for the first time in forever. He hears a car. as he stops and looks, and it's Natsu, the Edilis version of Natsu. As he says, "Oh, Natsu," as the Natsu's talking all big shit, and Deku pulls him right out of his car and realizes he's wimpy outside of his vehicle. So, what does Deku do? The almighty bitch slap. And he says, "Why are you such a fucking wimp? Be a man." And that's when Natsu just says, "But I'm only good inside the car." And that's when Deku would say, "You're a complete and fucking embarrassment. You don't deserve this car. It's mine now." As he would get behind the wheel, as Natsu would just say, "My car," as Deku drives off with Lizana and Wendy and Mira, leaving the Edilis version of Natsu and the Edilis version of Lucy behind. And Natsu would just say, "My car," as they would leave. And basically, they would arrive at the capital. And that's when Carla would tell them that she's having these weird flashes, and Deku would say, well, it's probably good to kind of be wary of them. You don't know if they could be true or if they could not be. As she would say, "You're right." So with that, they actually meet Natsu in the capital, because Deku was really driving around and Wendy could smell Natsu. So yeah, that's how they found him. And to be honest, Natsu running around like an idiot with Happy, Deku's just like, "Where is Cobra and Gagio?" And Natsu would just say, "Those jerks just dumped me. They left me here." And basically, Deku's just like, "You're fucking kidding me." And Natsu would say, "No, I'm not. Trust me." Deku would just say, "You fucking idiot." "Okay, let's find them." As Carla says, "Wait, I know how we could actually approve and appropriate things." As she says, "We shouldn't just look for them, but we should look for all of our comrades, right?" And that's when Natsu says, he saw this big lacrima looking thing that kind of reminded him of the Tower of Heaven in a way, but it's actually just like right there in the center of town. So they follow Natsu and they see it, and Deku sees that it's Fairy Tail members right there inside of it. And he's just like, "What in the hell is this?" As Natsu's saying, "I don't know, but it's something that we should investigate." As they listen to the king's propaganda and all that, and Deku pretty much gets the gist. They're going to turn their friends into magical energy to basically fuel their city, who's have magic deficiency this whole time, just for their own continued magical support. So, what does he do? He decides to listen to Carla as she formulates a plan with the secret entrance and all that, and they run into Urza. Edilis Urza Nightwalker. And they're captured. And with that, they're escorted around, and, well, Mira's okay because they're not really touching Deku. As soon as Happy and Carla are escorted all the way back to the land of the Exceeds, and they learn about everything that's been going on there, they decide to rebel. Like in canon. And they leave. As they get there, they see Mira literally fighting Urza with tooth and nail ferocity. And it's a battle of everyone just going ham. Deku's over there destroying things, like Natsu's wreaking havoc, Wendy's following close behind Mira, and Lizana's doing the same thing, because not as experienced in fighting. As Carla asks what's going on here, and basically Mira snapped after Nightwalker decided to kind of test Deku's body, because all she did was really just punch his body and say, "You have a very sturdy body." And that set Mira off. Because no woman's allowed to put their hands on her Deku. None at all. As Deku's taking care of all the guards, Natsu's having his fun, that's when Panther Lily shows up. But not just him. No. Gajil shows up as well. And the fight with Gajil and Panther Lily, it continues on like in canon. And with this time, Urza Nightwalker is actually defeated very soon, because Mira just grabs her, flies her off of there, and uses her Satan Soul to literally blast her into the ground. From high up, that fall would almost kill her. So yeah, that's handled. So they keep making their way down, as the king is informed that if they decide to keep going, Panther Lily, who's still fighting Gajil, would be in the way, and he gives no fucks and decides to say, "Okay, let's go." But Coco decides to say, "Fuck the king, fuck the rules," and runs away with the key, saving Panther Lily and Gajil, just like in canon. As she says, "Nope." And since they do the blast anyway, eventually, they get it to where it blasts through the fairy tale Lacrima, freeing everyone of fairy tale. And through a lot of convoluted fights that pretty much go the same way as in canon, except for the Nightwalker thing, because that's already taken care of, the fairy tale wizards are actually pretty victorious overall. Even though the Exceed's whole thing is still kind of iffy, they decide to actually go up there, not with just Wendy and Carla. No. You have Happy and Natsu accompanying, because Deku doesn't want Wendy going anywhere by herself. And with Cobra there, they have an extra Dragon Slayer, so it's not like they really need that. But Cobra has his own fight. You guys remember that little Exceed that had on the glasses and could go big just like Panther Lily in one of the later arcs? Yeah, that guy. As he fights with Cobra, and Cobra beats him into submission. Not having a flying snake anymore, he needs an Exceed. And he gets that little guy to beat his Exceed. So, with Gajil beating Panther Lily into submission, and Cobra beating his Exceed into submission, which I think his name was Simeon, or Simon, no, not Simon, but Simeon. We'll call him Simeon. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But yes, that's who Cobra gets. And yeah, they continue on with their little fight. And that's when the king decides to whip out the dragon mode. And that fight, I'm gonna still give it with Natsu, Wendy, Cobra, and Gajil. As Deku, he's making sure everybody else in the guild is alright, as he's really just picking up Gray, and Mystican shows up, and Deku's actually having a heart-to-heart with Mystican, as Mystican has found out that the king is his father, and Deku's telling him, look, he shouldn't care who his father is, he needs to save his people. If he's from here, he needs to save these people. So yeah, Deku and Mystican actually go to where they're draining Magnolia, from the non-Edelus, of all its magic, and turn on the reverse Uno card, meaning Aedolus's magic is being sent away this time. And Natsu, Cobra, Wendy, and Gajil beat the king a lot earlier since Cobra's there helping them out. And with this out of the way, the king finally falls. Everyone's arrested, and basically, everyone, including all the Exceeds, return back to the original world. So Mira's actually not at the cathedral, and Lizana is actually kept pretty close, so when they return, Lizana's right there next to Mira as she hugs her. As Elfman, seeing Lizana for the first time in a long time, is super happy. And yeah, Deku still has the car, because he said, fuck this, I'm not leaving without that car. Because he realizes that car is going to be very helpful. And he can repurpose it to run off the Lacrima here instead. So it's an easy fix for him. And with that out of the way, the Endless arc comes to a close. And with this, it leads right into the S-Class trials. But before that, Guildarts comes marching in. As Natsu says, Guildarts! As Deku just pulls him back and says, down boy. Let me have a drink with the old man first before you start harassing him. As Lizana's actually there and says, hey Natsu. Natsu says, Lizana, hey, how's it going? As he tears up, hugging her. And she hugs him and says that she missed him. And Natsu said that he missed her too. Happy joins in on that little hug, and the three have a little reunion. As Mira sees where Natsu's hands are, and she says, Natsu. And Natsu says, yeah, Mira? All she does is just whip out a shovel and slam it into the guild floor. His hands go away. Because Natsu's hands were grabbing at Lizana's shirt, but to Mira it looks like he was grabbing her, plot. As, Natsu's just like, sorry. And Mira just says, you better be. So with that out of the way, Guildart's actually having a heart-to-heart moment with Deku, saying that he's so proud of him and he's become so strong, and that he picked him up the final book in the series. As he hands it, but Deku realizes Guildart's body is different. He's lost an arm. He's scarred up, lost a leg. He asks what happened. Guildarts tells him it was a dragon, a black dragon, and he was no friend to anybody. As he takes another drink, Kiana's working the bar now, as Cobra's there with him and just chilling next to Deku, and he says, you saw a dragon. Gajio hears this and he actually perks up and says, tell me, what did it look like? As basically Guildarts describes the dragon, Gajio says, well, whatever dragon it is, wasn't mine. Mine's metal and shiny. As, Guildarts says, I assure you, the only thing shiny about this dragon was its teeth. As, Gajio's just like, yeah, so I hear. And basically, Guildarts would tell them that they shouldn't go seeking out that dragon. The only thing that dragon will give them is death. As he gets up and heads on to his house, but Natsu tags along finally, disturbing Guildarts out the ass. And Guildarts tells Natsu, look, he's not in the mood, okay? As Natsu says, come on, man, it's been forever. And Guildarts says, fine. As Natsu asks him about the dragon, since he didn't get any of the details, Gildarts just reinstates exactly what he said. And basically, Natsu is actually having the same conversation with Gildarts as in canon. And basically, Kana, she's still in her depression train. She tries to flirt with Deku, and Deku's just like, "Be gone, thought," as he just walks away from her. As Mira stares at Kana and says, "I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, stay away from my Deku." And, basically Kana's just like, "Well, he ain't your property unless you marry him." And that's when Mira says, "Okay, bet." As, she goes away for a little bit, comes back, and she gets on the stage and says, "Attention, attention, 1, 2, 3, may I have everyone's attention?" As Kana looks over, Deku's confused, like, the hell? Cobra is laughing hysterically. He knows where this is going. Gagio's just like, "What's so funny?" Cobra just says, "Just watch, man. This is gonna be a riot." As Mira gets down on one knee, pulls out a ring, pops it open, and says, "Izuku Midoriya, will you marry me? The answer better be yes." As Deku's put on the spot like that, he just says, "Yes?" So Mira just shoots off over Deku, puts that ring on his finger, and says, "See, my property now." And Kana says, "You're not even married." And Deku says, "Bitch, I'm engaged." And, they kind of just leave. After that, Kana ambushes Lucy, and they still hang out because Kana and Lucy have been hanging out a lot. Since Lucy's been staying at the guild, her and Kana are even better friends than in canon. And basically, Kana tells Lucy her whole details, and same thing happens as Lucy says that she'll be her partner if she's nominated for S-Class. So with this, next day rolls around, Makarov declares the S-Class exams. And he says, the people that are nominated for S-Class are Natsu. As Natsu says, "Oh yeah." He says, "Gray Fullbuster." Gray's like, "It's an honor." He also says, "Levy." And Levy is excited. He says, "Elfman." Elfman's excited. And then he says, "Mest." As Mest is just like, "Yeah." And people are like, "Oh yeah, Mest made it so far." Deku doesn't remember Mest ever being there, so he's cautious. And he knows Mest is staring at Wendy, so he was even more cautious. And he walks up to Wendy and says, "Hey, Wendy." As Wendy says, "Yeah?" He says, "I want you to stay out of this whole S-Class thing. You still have a lot of training to do with me and Mira, right?" As Wendy would say, "Yes, of course. I wouldn't think about going on no S-Class mission when I have training to do with you guys." As Deku says, "Alright, no matter who asks you, you turn them down, okay?" Wendy would say, "Okay." So with that, the people that actually end up partnering up, it's, Natsu, he still partners up with Happy. Dumb decision by Natsu, but hey, whatever. And as for Gagio, he still partners up with Levy because Levy was feeling down. Gray partners up with Loki still. And oh yeah, Juvia was also recommended. So yeah, Juvia is also recommended as well. As Juvia partners up with Lizana. And let's see, Mest, he would partner up with Cobra in this one. So yeah, you just take everybody who is still at the canon whole deal with the deals, but you just throw in Cobra instead of Mest. So, with that out of the way, they set off. But things do go extremely similar as canon. You're just taking out Wendy and putting in Cobra. Cobra would actually help out a lot more than this, so yeah, the fights would actually go easier for Fairy Tail. And Loxus does still show up, still helps out. And Acnologia still comes, they still build up their little barrier, everything like that. So that all still happens. But while that's all happening, Mira, Deku, and Wendy, they're still at the base. And Wendy's actually training with Deku, and Deku's actually reading the book Gildart's got him. And he's reading that it's possible for Slayer type magic wielders to eat other Slayer's elements and gain their abilities and attributes for themselves and mix it with their own. As Deku's reading that, he's very interested, as he hears a declaration of a new Grand Magic Games tournament will be held soon. However, days go by. They don't hear anything, not a peep, from the Tenro Island crew. As they search out there, and they continue to search, they don't find anything at all. So with that, Mira actually takes over as master. And Wendy, she actually just keeps on training with Mira and Deku, and she ages to look like her Edelus counterpart. Because, yes, it's 7 years. Wendy's gonna age. And I want her to look like her Edelus counterpart because that's the only accurate description of a Wendy that we would get. And we're doing Wendy right on this What If. As for that, Deku would actually marry Mira, as they would have a huge wedding. As the whole city of, I forget the name at the moment, but hey, that whole city celebrates their Magnolia. Magnolia celebrates their wedding, as everybody celebrates, Mira Jane Midoriya and Izuku Midoriya's wedding. And, Bisque and Herman, they still get married, but it's a month later because, everyone's still coming down off the Deku-Mira wedding. And the guild actually wouldn't deteriorate, since Deku and Mira are still there as heavy hitters, and Wendy's actually growing super powerful, as she was actually awakening her Dragon Force a lot earlier because of the intensive training that's being put under her. So she would actually get her Dragon Force super early and would be the first Dragon Slayer to unlock and fully control their Dragon Force. So, Wendy's super powered because you have Mira, who unlocks a new Satan Soul, which is, a lot more powerful. It's kind of like that bluish one that she has. So, she unlocks that one. And Deku fully masters all of his Godslayer secret arts and gains super high up and is actually ranked 4th amongst the 10 Wizard Saints, and Jura ranks 5th. And so with that out of the way, that's where I'm leaving it off. I hope you guys enjoy, and in the next part, we get into the Grand Magic Games, the pre-7-year time skip Grand Magic Games. As always, I'm the Crown Clown, and I will see all of you people again in the next one. Peace.